you know, Steve was the first one of us to kind of to become prominent. He won the New Music Seminar in 90?
90.
In 90. And that showed like, okay, he brought beat juggling to the forefront, and that was kind of what our whole sound was. And that's when we met Rob through Dr. Butcher, who was one of the X-Men as well. And Rob came in, and that started the Queens connection. So from Rob, we got Sinister, and then from there we got Eclipse, which came later. But I had already stopped because I had a kid and I had to make money. At that time, at that time, there was we weren't really making a lot of money DJing. So I was like, I need to make beats. So I started making beats, and I slowed down with DJing. But I got an A&R position and ended up signing my crew to Loud Records, and we did the record with Linkin Park. And it was like the biggest, that still I think to this day is the biggest turntablist album ever. So that's sort of what the history is.
Yeah.
Okay, so, man. So basically for me, the connection between myself and Sean C. and the rest of the X-Men started in 1991. In 1990, I met my mentor, the guy that helped me train and take DJing to the next level, Dr. Butcher, through a mutual friend of ours named Juju. And you guys might be familiar with the name. Juju is from the Beatnuts. I grew up with Psycho Les. He and I went to the 6th grade together, and we started DJing together at the age of 12. I asked my brother, who was a DJ already, to teach myself and Les, and my brother taught us. So that's how I met Juju, through Les. They were from Corona. I lived in Jackson Heights, Queens. So when I met Dr. Butcher, I remember one of the fond memories that I have of the first time that I went to his house was I really looked up to Steve D amongst a slew of other DJs, Aladdin, Clark Kent, Marley Marl, Red Alert, Chuck Chill Out, Cutmaster Swift. But Steve, at the time, was like the hottest DJ in New York City, and he just won the 1990 New Music Seminar Battle, and I was like a month from actually seeing Steve D live in person claim that belt. They battled at an old movie theater. They battled at an old movie theater in Times Square on 42nd Street. And I remember Les was the one that told me about the New Music Seminar battle. I was like 18 years old, and I took the 7 train to Times Square and just was alone inside this theater amongst kings and gods of hip hop and DJing. I remember seeing Aladdin. He had his hat to the back, walking around, and I'm like, oh shit, there's Aladdin. And Clark Kent was there, and Red Alert. Ralph McDaniels from Video Music Box was there, and the cool thing about that was I had seen Steve D for the first time on Video Music Box the previous March. This was, I want to say July or June of July, right? So this was July of 1990. In March of 1990, Ralph McDaniels aired an excerpt of the East Coast DMC battle. And that was the first time that I saw Steve D just fucking doing some next level beat juggling, as they call it now. But back then we used to just say making beats. Like, this dude is making beats on turntables. Like, how is that possible? So the thing there was, we're talking 1990, and if there are people here that are under, let's say, 35, you'd know that obviously there was no social media back then, there was no YouTube, and if you were lucky, you heard audio of what these DJs were doing. So then Video Music Box is airing it, and I'm seeing the visuals now. Like, now I see the DJ like double up a word, and I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like, I want to get involved, because at that time, I was really practicing as hard as I could to be like the DJs that I looked up to. And when I saw Steve, I was just blown away because I hadn't seen anything like that prior to him. So I met up with Dr. Butcher, thanks to Juju, and I remember I went to Drew's house, and I had taught myself how to do the Friends routine. The Friends routine is a legendary Steve D routine. It's a pattern that a lot of DJs apply now, and probably half of those DJs don't realize that the origins of that pattern of movement with your hands stems back to 1988 probably. So I taught myself the pattern, and I went to Dr. Butcher's house thinking I'm dope because I could do the Steve D pattern on Friends. That was my mentality. If I could do anything that Aladdin does, that Steve D does, that Cutmaster Swift does, I'm dope. So I went to Drew's house. Basically, I was biting from all the DJs that I respected and thought I was impressing Butcher. Then he got on and destroyed me because he was completely original. Everything that he did was from his own creativity. And he was like, yo, Rob, man, you're dope, but you're dope at copying. You gotta be dope at being creative. And I was like, well, take me as your student, man. I was like like in the fucking martial arts movies, man, like the young kid that's fighting, wants to learn from the master, and Dr. Butcher was definitely, in my eyes, still is a master. So I asked him to train me, and one of the questions I posed him was like, yo, do you know Steve D? And he was like, yeah, like I've practiced with Steve. And I was like, word? I was like, yo, man, like I want to meet him, man. He was like, don't worry about meeting him right now. Just fucking train and get ready for the DMC. So he trained me for a year, and I entered the 1991 East Coast DMC, and I walk inside the Pyramid, a nightclub. Back then, they would have the preliminaries on a completely separate day. So we went to the preliminaries, Butcher and I walk in, and there are all these DJs there, and the X-Men were fucking like taking up, they were sucking all the attention from the room because they were loud, especially Sean. Sean's fucking loud as fuck. Like just amplifying his voice whenever he was like interacting with Raider or Steve. Scoop Rock, back then we called him Scoop Rock, but Fat Man Scoop is an X-Men, a lot of people don't know. He was there, Steve was there, Diamond J, who got put down with the crew in 1990, Johnny Cash, and Raider. R.I.P. They were all there, and they were just sucking the energy from the room because, like, everywhere you turned, you heard one of them, like, just either heckling a DJ or talking amongst each other. That was Sean. And I remember seeing them, like, they would shake, they would do this handshake, and I'm like, yo, what the fuck is that? Like, they just looked like a cohesive unit. And everyone in that room wanted to be a part of that. You know what I mean? And I got up, did my 2-minute set, got off stage with Dr. Butcher. You could actually see the YouTube video. I have it on my YouTube page. And I was like, all right, yo, I want to be Steve now. Like, I did my routine. I introduced me to Steve D. And Dr. Butcher was like, all right, man. So he called Steve over. He was like, yo, Steve, that's Roc Swift. And Roc Raida happened to be standing next to him. And Steve was like, yo, what's up, man? How you doing? This is Raider. And I remember I went to shake Raider's hand, and Raider didn't say shit to me. Raider just had this like smirk and didn't say a word and just shook my hand, and that's it. And I was like, all right, Steve was nice, but this dude, like, I don't know what this dude's issue is. And we walked away, and a week or two later, they had the finals of the 1991 East Coast DMC. I placed third. DJ Supreme, Grandmaster Supreme now, placed second. Steve D won. And to this day, I feel like the X-Men got jerked because all of you guys deserve to make it through to the finals.
That was the only one. I think that was the only DMC that we were all in.
All the team, yeah, all the
we already were like. I mean, that's why we were the X-Men, because I was like, fuck the Superman. We the X-Men. So I came up with the name, but it was. I don't know. Clark, Clark is my brother now. Like,
Yeah.
we're all cool. It's all, everything is love. But back then, that was fuel. Like, we used it to just get better, because we were like, fuck all of them.
So yeah, like Diamond J, Roc Raida, Johnny Cash, Sean C, Steve D, all of them entered the preliminary round of the 1991 DFC. And later on, we found out that only Steve D, later on that night, they announced the 8 finalists. And they only shouted out Steve D's name. And I remember on the train ride back to Queens, I was like, yo, Drew, like, I'm confused. Like, how is it that those guys didn't make it? And that's when I started to understand about the politics and all of the, just, it's a big chess game involved. And, I love Supreme. I love you, Supreme. If he's here, I love you. But at the time, Richie Rich was mentoring Supreme. And they were kind of like basically trying to prepare him to become a Superman. So there's a lot of politics and stuff like that back in the days when we used to compete. But that's how I met the X-Men.
So we get more to the DMC, but so we're in 1991, and the first clip we're showing is a battle of the World Supremacy battle versus Supreme. So let's check this out, and then we'll get more to the story.
Wow, still want them needles with you. Yo, can we smoke in here? What up? Yo, Sean, what up? I don't own the building.
Next up is DJ Roc Raida. DJ Roc Raida, are you ready? Go.
Wait, are you talking?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you got the mics.
Yeah, it's coming.
Basing your voice.
So kind of just sort of set up what was kind of going on back then. How many people in here are DJs? Raise your hand. There's a lot of DJs. For those that might not know everything that he's doing, what was it, on top of just sort of the body moves and the tricks that was kind of capturing everybody's attention? What was he doing that was different than other DJs at the time?
Like me and Rob were just saying while it was playing that this was the era when Raida like just turned into an alien. So it was kind of like he separated himself from us during this period. It's when he was like practicing super hard, and we used to battle each other for practice. Like that's how we practiced. We would set up like a DMC, format, and everybody would get a certain amount of minutes, and we would just go at each other, and that's how we would practice. And Raida, was beat juggling was a big part of a lot of our routines, and to be honest, Steve was really, this is actually when we broke away from Steve as well, because he had a mindset of everything should just be on the turntables, no physical. He didn't really believe in physical tricks and going behind your back and all of that kind of stuff. And Raida really, really wanted to do that. That was his shit. He wanted to have all of these body tricks, but he also wanted to incorporate the technical aspect of beat juggling along with it and still being funky. But instead of, in the beginning, like Rob said, the Friends pattern, the Yep pattern, a lot of classic Steve D routines was a pattern that we all learned, and we were all kind of just doing it with different records. At this point, Raida figured out ways to beat juggle totally differently and push the record, push the record forward, push the record all the way back, but still make it funky and still make it be on beat, and then incorporate physical body tricks with it. So it was shit that we'd never seen before. Even putting the record on 45, you juggling with two different records. He was just thinking totally out of the box, and it just, I remember seeing his routines when we were battling, what the fuck, he just took it to a whole other place that we weren't even thinking about. His creativity and his mindset just got crazy, and that was this point. And I don't care who says what, I don't know if you have this queued up for the next battle or whatever, but part of that, the funky drummer routine was part of that, the bringing hair routine was part of that, and Peter Piper, there it is totally Roc Raida. Everybody does that now as a staple, and I don't know if you guys know, so Peter Piper, the part where it goes, did this song have a story? No. What's
So there's a part in Peter Piper where Jam Master Jay scratches "Take Me to Mardi Gras." So DJs today, Jazzy Jeff, Funkmaster Flex, every DJ that cuts that record usually goes to that part and forwards or spins the record forward. The part where Jam Master Jay scratching, there it is. And if you spin the record forward, it goes because there's these scratches, and if you spin the record forward with your finger, you get that sound effect. And then if you stop right before there it is and let it go, it's just a cool sound and it looks fucking crazy. People might see a Jazzy Jeff, another DJ god, do it, not know about the 1991 New Music Seminar battle that we just saw, and think Jeff created it. But Raida did that back in 1991, and I actually made a post about it just to clarify, because it's important for people to know the origins of these techniques. So yeah.
That to me, that's one of many, but one of the most popular things that DJs do in their routine. Almost everybody does it, and they don't know that he started that, he created that, and that came from him.
I feel like Raida was also, he started, I wasn't even around in those years, but even when I look at what he was doing then, and then what I picked up from his routines later on, one thing I always loved from Raida's routines is there's always a balance between some technical, innovative parts and other parts that are just really simple, but that had a ton of character and personality and humor. Even what we just saw, it's technically simple, but it'll make everyone smile and react in a certain way.
That was perfect what you said, A-Track, because a lot of people, I'm sure, know Raida for his mastery of the turntables, but if you knew Raida personally, you appreciated his humor. Like, there were DJs that he admired, people like Grandmaster Flash and Jazzy Jeff and Cash Money, and then there were comedians that he admired just as much. Richard Pryor, Dave Chappelle, Paul Mooney. Like, when we would tour, he would bring the battle tapes, the DMC tapes, and then he'd bring like Half-Baked. And like, and on the bus, like, we just watch either DJs battling or fucking comedy shit. So Raida, I'm glad you touched on that, A-Track. Raida really did a great job of bringing humor to DJing, and before that, it was more of a seriousness. Like, for example, Sean C, if you battle him, it feels like you're in a fight. Dead serious. Like, he's like Ice Cube on, like, America's Most Wanted Ice Cube on turntables. That's Sean C. So it's like when you would battle him, you felt like you were like in a fight. You'd battle Raida and you felt like you were being made fun of, you know? But one thing that I would like to touch on regarding the routines is when I started going up to Harlem to practice with Raida and Steve D and Sean C, Raida and I, out of all of them, became the closest. Like, Raida became like a brother to me. And we did everything together. Like, we used to go to the movies together. I remember once we went to go see Rumble in the Bronx with Jackie Chan. And I didn't have money, and he bought us a popcorn. And we shared popcorn together and watched Rumble in the Bronx. I'll never forget that. But so yeah, we became really tight, super close. So I was there when he was like developing these routines, and I'm gonna be totally transparent with you guys and build on something that Sean said. And I'm saying this like just being honest and truthful. At the time, everyone looked at Steve D as like the top dude from the X-Men. And in some ways, I understand that. Like, he had the championships, he was touring with Luke, Teddy Riley, he just had all this fame and hype around his name, so naturally people saw him as like the leader or the top dude. And because of that, there were sometimes they'd be like circumstances where, like, for example, Steve, knowing that he was like the front man, would like impose his philosophy about how to go about building a DJ set onto the rest of the crew. And I remember I talked to Raida, and Raida would be like, yo man, like, Steve doesn't want me to do body tricks in this beat juggle routine that I'm doing. Like, his philosophy is you shouldn't do tricks, it should just be like sonically what's happening, how are you manipulating the music that you're altering. But Raida was like, but I like body tricks. Like, one of the DJs that Raida looked up to was a guy named Rectangle. Big shout out to Rectangle from California. And he would study Rectangle and be like, I want to do body tricks like Rectangle, but be funky and do make beats like we do. And that's why when you see Raida, he would always figure out a way to incorporate tricks. So I say that to say that Raida kind of like defied Steve D and went his own way, and that's sort of like a life lesson. Like, no matter who tells you don't do this or go about it this way, even if it's someone that everyone looks up to, you still have to follow your own path. And in following his path, he created his own legacy. So
this next one we're gonna check out is the 1992 Superman battle. If you guys want to set this up, or we can just play it and we'll get back to the story.
yeah, let's play it.
I like to do as much as possible in a little time. Like, you know, like if I can fit a spin around, if I can fit a shoulder spin or something in my juggle, I want to add it just to make it, just to keep both ends covered. This way it sounds good and it looks good. And it's like, even though it sounds good, it's technical, and the tricks that I'm doing but it is technical as well. This way, just to keep that balance.
Start it up! We all say, fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! A rat, the boss is back. The only man who's a clown with the party is back. A rat, a rat, a rat, a rat,
So, A-Track, I want to talk to you also about like DMC, because at 1997 you won at age 15, was the youngest at the time. And what was it like being, the young cat in the crew, and how was your story that kind of synced with Raida and the X-Men and everyone?
Yeah, as you mentioned, I won the DMC in '97. I started DJing in '95, so it was a quick start for me. I had I had kind of an unusual start to my DJ career where I went straight to the toughest stuff. I didn't actually learn how to DJ until years later. I wasn't even DJing, I was scratching. All I wanted to do, I fell in love with scratching when I was 13, living up in Montreal. And obviously I was too young to get into clubs, so I couldn't even see real DJs. But I would hear it on records, and I would have a few videotapes. And any piece of information that I had was sacred. It was like these, it's like finding hieroglyphics or some sort of, sacred text, and that's all the information you have, and you're trying to, figure it out just from those little bits. Because even then, even in '95, the internet existed, but it wasn't like you can play videos on it. You would try to load an image, and it would be like, or just for one photo. You could send an email or anything. So, but anyways, I was up in Montreal, fell in love with scratching on my dad's belt drive turntable, and all I wanted to do was figure that stuff out. And I pretty much locked myself up in my parents' basement for 2 years, and came out of the basement and became world champion. That was the first battle that I did, was the DMC that I won in Montreal.
Insane.
It's funny to think back now. Back then, I didn't think any of that was unusual. To be honest, back then, I didn't even think that there was anything that I was doing that was special or worthy of notice. I was just like a student in the basement trying to learn stuff. My older brother's a musician, and he was, when I was 13, he was 17. In Montreal, you can get into clubs when you're 18, so he's tall, he get into clubs. So he would go and see DJs, and then come home and kind of describe what he saw. And then off of that secondhand information, and then me listening to whatever Premiere was producing, whatever Pete Rock was doing, or some old Jazzy Jeff albums, I would try to decode and figure it out by myself. And it's funny because I would get a lot of tricks wrong at first, but I tried to figure them out by myself, but I would end up inventing something. And then months later I'd be like, oh, that's how they did that thing, and I would just amass more patterns that way. But the videotapes of battles was like the ultimate, that was the Bible, basically. Every year a new Bible was issued, and you would buy that year's Bible and study that. And as soon as I met a few local DJs in Montreal, they showed me the DMC tapes, as well as just little practical tricks of how to take your records and whatever else, right? So I'm starting to learn this stuff, and at that point in time, 95, 96, my lens into DJing is basically the state of the union of DJing at that point in time. You had the X-Men in New York that dominated a lot of battles. You had the Invisible Scratch Pickles in the Bay Area, Beat Junkies in LA, and those three crews really reigned. And for whatever reason of timing, pretty much everyone from those crews retired from battling by the time I got into battling. So I learned everything by emulating what those cats were doing, and then I entered the battle scene as they exited, and I started winning stuff. And what I saw of a Raider or a Mixmaster Mike or a Babu or whatever was what I saw on those videotapes, where they looked like superheroes. They didn't even seem like normal human beings. I just saw those tapes and I was like, there's an aura about the way it all looked on the tape. It looked literally surreal. So I would train myself like little Karate Kid in the Canadian basement. You know what I mean? And trying to, at first you copy someone's routines and then you learn how to make your own or whatever. But still, I would see the tapes and someone like Raider, I had no idea how tall he was. He looked scary. He looked like he had attitude, and he was doing all this shit. And I remember someone, I did an interview for this documentary, and the documentary dude was like, "Oh, you haven't met the next one? You gotta meet Roc Raida. He's the nicest guy." And I remember thinking, like, man, he looks mean on those tapes, so okay. You know? And then, basically, as I mentioned, like, me winning that first DMC World Championship went really fast. It went from Montreal champion to Canadian champion to traveling with my mom to Italy, missing a week of school, which was a whole thing in itself. Like, explaining to my French teachers, like, I have to go participate in the DJ battle in Revere, Italy. They're like, what? But they let me go out there, and yeah, my mom came with me. And as it turns out, also, for whatever timing, whatever coincidence, in 1997, they had all the previous world champions come to judge that battle, which was really unusual. Usually the judges at DNC battles were whack. It would be like whoever's the sponsor. It would be some weird political shit. But the year that I did it, all the previous champions were there. What year was that? 97. And the next day there was an event called the Summit where all the previous champions performed together too. So I go to Italy and I brought my turntables with me to practice in the hotel rooms. I was like trying to figure out voltage converters and all kinds of stuff like that. And I win the battle, and it happened so fast. But also, by the same token, I met all my heroes in one trip. I met Hubert and Raider. I actually met Q right before. And actually, that's an important part of my story because Hubert came to Montreal to do a show, to play at a rave. Like, turntables used to get booked at raves. And so this rave promoter in Montreal books Hubert, and he books me. This is like 2 months before the DMC World Championships. They put us at the same stage, me being like the young up-and-comer scratcher from the city that was starting to make noise, and Q being seen as like, you know, this wizard of scratching. And I met Q, and Q invited me to join the Invisible Scratch Pickles real quick, like before we got to the World Championships. And there's something about that and something about my rapport with Raider in the months that followed too that I remember really thinking like, even though I had won this battle, I remember thinking like, why me? Like, why isn't there another kid in every other city who's doing what I'm doing? Because I was just in the basement trying to figure out this amazing, mysterious shit that DJs were doing with records. And I thought for sure in every other city there was someone doing the same thing as well as I was. But Q was like, no, I want to put you in my turntable TV videotapes, and I want to put you down with the crew. And then next thing you know, I go to the Worlds, and I'm world champion, and Raiders being mad cool with me, and my mom, and we're all hanging out, and I'm just like, wow, one, my heroes are really cool. And that in itself changed my life. And you know, as I was thinking about this event this evening, like I was just coming up here, I think a big part of the impact that someone like Roc Raida had on my life is not even just the influence of him being one of the world champions whose routines I studied to become the DJ that I became, but also just on a human level, the OG who was just so cool with me and that opened doors for me when he really didn't have to. And that's the relationship that we built. And it's a trip to think back because technically the Scratch Pickles and the X-Men were rival crews, and the Scratch Pickles had put me down with their crew. But I rarely saw them. Montreal and San Francisco are across the continent from each other. It was more like a title. It was just them kind of annoying, like knighting me, saying like, all right, you're going to be the next wave. But in practice, Montreal and New York are really close. It's a 6-hour drive, 1-hour flight. I have relatives in Queens. We would go. My mom has, aunts in Queens. We would come and visit New York. So and even on some hip hop shit, I always felt very close to New York. I fell in love with New York hip hop, and that era. I got into hip hop around like 93, 94, and the records that came out of New York at that era is what changed my life. And I would come to New York way more often than I would ever see the Scratch Pickles. That was technically the crew that I was down with in the beginning. And ever since I met Raida at that one faithful DMC that I won in Italy, he would always say, "Yo, anytime you come to New York, call me up, come by the crib." And I would go to New York for shows, and I would call him up, and he would invite me to the crib. And in those years, it was like, all right, go to, this is the subway stop that you gotta go to, and, I'll meet you at 4 o'clock. We didn't have, obviously no cell phones.
Yeah.
And my voice hadn't even changed. I'm a tiny little nerdy kid.
And did you know that you were going to like one of the roughest projects in Harlem? I guess so.
So we're gonna show actually a clip of the battle versus ISP, but 2 years before you won, Raida won, and we want to show that full performance.
Yeah, we gotta watch that because the DMC routine that Raida did, that whole world saw that. And I don't know if you have his thank you speech, but that was legendary.
That was the most legendary. It was crazy.
I guess it's kind of like being a boxer, how you have a whole bunch of combinations that you learn one at a time, but then you learn how to put those combinations together, and after a while you can just freestyle. You don't have to go up there like, okay, I'm going to do a jab and a body blow. It's like you could be like, whatever, I'm just going to freestyle the whole set.
My whole understanding of what a battle routine was when I was getting started was Roc Raida. My set when I won the DMC started with all the other DJs that are a bunch of jerks from Early Scratch. Same record that he used, except I flipped it differently with like this KRS One thing, but like that's what defined what a battle routine is for my whole generation. And I feel like Raida figured out this balance that, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if that balance really existed before him, where it was super creative, technical, but also super entertaining, funny, borderline gimmicky, but in a good way too. Because I feel like before that there was some really good gimmicky DJs. You could watch 8-Ball, and you mentioned Rectangle, but they weren't technical, right? And some of the other cats were just like straight technical. And I feel like Raida was so good at nailing that balance, where some of the parts you don't even have to understand the technicality. It's musical.
Right.
And then other parts he's just going with the crazy speed.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to say something?
Real quick, I just wanted, knowing that was his dream to win that. And he would go around his house, and he was the most disciplined person that I ever met in my life. He would have, and before The Secret or any of these other books that, they probably existed, but we weren't reading any of those books. You walk in his room and he had someone else's, while you're not practicing, someone else is. You go in the bathroom, it would say, I'm going to be the best DJ in the universe. You go in another room, there was a sign written by him, a message to himself. So, just his discipline to be able to do that, and his thought process is something that, I admired in him more than anything. Coming up, him being younger than me and me meeting him and him kind of looking up to me, and then the roles being reversed just on a human scale, you know what I mean? It's just incredible for me to watch him still now and be in awe of him,
It's fucking crazy, man, because I'm watching that, and Raida was amazing. We're here gathered today because of this one human being, right?
Yep.
That being said, I have to say too that of course. Hands together for Raida.
Make some noise.
That being said, I will say this too, that Raider winning the 1995 DMC Championship was a group effort. It was a group effort. And what I mean by that is, in 1992, Raider and myself were the only X-Men still battling. And we both decided to retire from battling and tour and make money and expose ourselves to a wider audience. When you go to a battle, there's probably twice as many people as there are in this theater, right? Maybe a couple of hundred people. And you make it an impact on those couple hundred people until the next year, right? And we were tired of just getting jerked and dealing with the politics and all that, so we decided to retire from battling and DJ for artists. I started DJing for Akinelli, Raider started DJing for Showbiz and AG. In about 1993, 1994, Raider hits me up and goes, yo, I want to battle one more time. I'm not done. I really think I could win a title. And he was like, yo, Rob, I want you to help me train. So I was like, let's do it. At the time, I was working on, I wanted to do juggles in a different way, so I was working on trying to, instead of making the normal juggle, I wanted my juggles to go in reverse. I was inspired by the Beastie Boys, Paul Revere, how the beat is in reverse. So I wanted to do juggles like that. And I came up with reverse juggle. At the time, nobody was doing this, with Eric B for president. And I was kind of like holding onto it, sort of like under my sleeve, in case someone wanted to battle me and I'd pull out that routine. That was back then the mentality, like you always had to have a few routines that no one has seen. So I was holding on to that. The ED OG and the Bulldogs routine, where he, in the beginning, he's doing a juggle from left to right, from right to left, like an inverted beat juggle. That's something that I created. And when he told me, yo, I want to battle, I was like, here, take these routines, all right? And then Sinister, credit to Sinister, who's in the audience, raise your hand, Sin. This is Sinister, Joey. Joey at the time was coming up with a routine on Chief Rocker, Lords of the Underground. And I remember I hit up Joey and I was like, yo, Joey, that's not your routine anymore. We gotta give that to Raider, because Raider's gonna compete in the 1995 DMC. And myself and Joey taught Raider how to do the routines, and then Raider naturally added on to them. So I just wanna just say that was the beauty of the X-Men, was like our mentality was like, one guy wins, we all win. And we would all train together and give each other routines and give each other ideas and just spread the love, you know? So
actually the last battle that we're showing in the segment is the X-Men battling Invisible Scratch Pickles. I believe Raida kicks things off. Can you just speak a little bit about the significance of that battle and why he went first?
So that battle was amazing, man. We were in Hawaii for an ITF competition. ITF stands for International Turntablist Federation.
The first one, right?
The first one, right, yeah. And we were sitting, eating dinner with Alex Aquino and Crazy Legs from Rocksteady crew. And it was the Pickles, Mike, Cubert, Shortcut was there, myself, Sin, and Raider were there at this dinner eating. And Legs basically instigated the battle. Neither crew was thinking about battling each other, but we were at this dinner and Legs like slams his hand on the table like bonk. And he's like, yo, you know what I want to see at this year's Rocksteady anniversary? A fucking battle between the X-Men and the Invisible Scratch Pickles. At the time, he used to call them the Rocksteady DJs. So he was like, I want to see a battle between the X-Men and the Rocksteady DJs. And I'm like, what the fuck is this dude talking about right now? Like, honestly, I was like, I'm not trying to battle Hubert or Mike or Shortcut. Like those, although we were rival crews, it was more of a rivalry because the fans always would kind of debate which style was better. The West Coast scratching style or the East Coast funky beat juggling style.
And it was very, very different styles.
And it was distinctly different styles. So, but Legs fed into that, and at this dinner, Legs was like, I want to see a battle at the Rocksteady anniversary. So our egos wouldn't let us tell Legs we're not doing it. Our egos were like, all right, fuck it, I'll battle you. And that's how the battle came to be. And originally it was supposed to be Mike, Huber, Shortcut, and DJ Disc. And on our side, it was going to be Sinister, Raider, myself, and Diamond J. And each of us were going to battle a specific member of the Pickles. And Disc, for whatever reason, didn't make it to New York. So then we told Diamond J, like, yo, it's not going to be fair to be 4 against 3. So Jay was like, all right, I'll bow out. And that's how it all happened.
I didn't know that.
Roc Raida.
That means you don't have time to Jack the Ripper. You know what I think you should do? The routine is tight, right? Hell yeah! Routine is tight. You know what I think you should do? I would take out the beat. When you slow it down, the spinning thing with this, I'll take that out. And for more time, and I'll take out.
She gets done, and upset. We get smothered. Last word to mother. Should've said moms. I drop bombs. Get off my shit. Get off my dick. Get off my shit. Get off my dick. Get off my shit. Get off my dick. So when I make brother hits, you better change your behavior. Battling the bitch. 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 No religion can save ya. My religion is found. B-A-L-I-T.
We gotta make a quick announcement. Please do not smoke in the building. It's gonna set off the fire alarm. We're gonna shut it down. So please go outside if you have to smoke.
Says
So
so. It's hip hop.
This is
Yeah, we shout out to the Nitehawk for holding us down. So
Word.
Thank you. But I wanted to get into these next video, which is showing the other side of Raida's personality, which you talked
I
about.
feel like we've got to say a couple things on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is so monumental. Like, for the world, like, so I came into the scene right on the heels of that. And so for anyone that's around my age, the clash of the fucking titans, that was the X-Men versus Pickles, you can't understate how monumental that was. That was like Mount Olympus level, like just crazy, like the gods versus the gods, right? And then one thing I was thinking of, when you were talking about how a few of you guys were starting to DJ for rappers, right? It made me think of this one point that I'm not even sure if you guys realize the perception that my generation had looking at you by those years, which is that by the mid-90s, right? By 95, 96, a lot of rappers didn't have DJs anymore. And, right? And turntablism had this, I mean, the word turntablism was coined around those years, right? And turntablism had this crazy creative boom around 95, 96, where a bunch of DJs invented, there was like a crazy growth of new styles and techniques, in part because the rappers neglected the DJs, and the DJs literally went to their bedrooms for a year or two and came up with some crazy shit. And when you look at the Scratch Pickles versus the X-Men, and my perception coming right after you guys, as much as I love the Pickles and the Pickles put me down, and I admire Q and Mike and them, I was as a kid coming up during that era, I was a huge fan of hip hop. Hip hop was my life. And Q and them, they were on some other shit musically. They were modeling their type of scratching and DJing after Hendrix, Miles Davis,
Right.
and UFOs, aliens. They said they were from a planet called Sector. They said they were aliens, and they were talking about aliens or Jimi Hendrix, which is cool. I respect that. I respect aliens and I respect Jimi Hendrix a lot. But a lot of the turntablists from that era, from the mid-90s, sorry, were branching off into turntablism being its own thing. It was its own insular planet. And that was really cool for creativity and innovation and shit. But for me, as a young fan of hip hop, coming down to the US to visit and meet you guys and be like, oh shit, Raider did the scratches on OC Time's Up. Raider DJs for Show and AG, like literally what's realer than Show and AG? Like literally there's nothing realer than Show and AG in hip hop. Sid was DJing for Common. You were working with Akinelli. Maybe we should mention that Toby Clips was DJing for Tank? Or he's here.
Yeah, he was. He DJed for Tank. Yeah. But he was DJing for like organized confusion.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And
right.
he did shit with Jay-Z.
DJs for Pharaoh Monch.
Right, so for cats my age, getting into
Case.
Oh, it's Case. Okay.
Case. Same shit.
That's just a funny kind of example. But for someone of my generation, falling in love with turntablism, but also being into current hip hop, I started meeting you guys and being like, oh, I like what these guys are doing because they actually work with the artists that I'm a fan of. You know, Raider was down with Big L and blah, blah, blah. Like, that was just so ill to me where you guys didn't completely branch off into this weird side.
He stayed grounded.
Yeah.
He embodied hip hop.
Part of the culture that was going on then. That was unique.
But then the era after that was when, like you said, a lot of the rappers stopped having DJs. But then the DJ turntablism was so big that you were able to tour. It's the same without a DJ. Because without a rapper. But I remember, like, when I was working on the Big Pun record and I was at Loud, and Big Pun knew that I was part of the X-Men, and he was like, yo, I want one of the X-Men to DJ for me. And I was like, well, at that point, nobody was DJing for anybody, and Pun didn't know who the X-Men were, so I was like, oh, I got somebody, so I called LV. And I was like, yo, you want to DJ for Pun? And then I told Pun that he was one of the X-Men.
Well, LV was like the next generation.
Him and Blind.
Yo, homie, hold that thought, man. Hold that thought right there, man.
Who is that?
You know who it is.
If you guys have any last thoughts, please, have some advice for DJs that are trying to come up, or how the game has changed. Over here.
Oh man, damn. I just missed Raida, man.
Just keep it hip hop. Just keep it hip hop.
Yeah, I can't believe that it's like surreal. It's been 10 years. And I get choked up. A couple times I got choked up even just speaking here. Like, just
Why?
that we still doing, we're doing, actually doing a tribute for Raida. Like, it's weird. Like, every year that we do something, it just seems really weird because I was like, that's just our friend, But just to see that he had this reach and he did, the things that he did that were close to us, but people, like what A-Track was saying, looked at him as this superhero, and that was, that was Alicon, that was Johnny Ray, that was like, we had all these nicknames for him and stuff, and Raymond Alicon. It's weird, man, but like I said, and I've said it many times, one of the things that I always get from Raida in my life is discipline. Like I think about how, what would Raida do? If he said he was going to do it, he'll get it done. And that's like one of the things that, that's why martial arts made so much sense for him. Like, he had a passion for martial arts, and he loved Scarface. and martial arts made so much sense because he had, such a disciplined mind.
We all want to thank you all for coming out and keeping this legacy alive. Beastie Boys for Sean C, A-Track, Rob Swift, Roc Raida forever. Much love to everyone for coming out. Please join us in the lobby. There's going to be a new film starting at 9:30, so we got to make our way. But thank you guys again.
I want to shout out to DMD, who's one of the original X-Men, is here. Boogie Blind is here. LB is here. My man Will Perry, who's a mixed professor, he is one of the reasons that we had old footage because he was he said it was 90, but in 89, he was the only one with a camera doing what everybody does now with their cell phone. So we have a lot of footage. Stand up, Will, please, man. Because of this man here, I knew him since I was like 17.
Thanks again to the Nitehawk. Much love to everybody. Come and hang with us in the lobby. Have a good night.